I'm maxing the Husky. Yep. You're looking at a man that's going to 10 max the Husky. $400 down the drain. What you know about that? 7 pick here. I really love Puka Nakua. Interesting that J Jet is falling that far. Yeah, I admittedly I think Puka is so good. Opportunity, I personally believe, if Stafford's healthy, for Puka to be the number one receiver this year. He's so good. He's so good. Even in his limited time last year, he had like 4 yards per route run. He's just insanely talented, and I have high expectations for Puka on hopefully a healthy season for the Rams. On the bring back, we'd love to get London. More likely than not, we won't, but that's fine. We have some ATL that we could work into later. The specific pick is 18. Let me double check. I mean, you saw me yesterday do this double. But we do have an opportunity to maybe do a little weird angle on it again if we get A.J. Brown into Hertz 42, maybe, just maybe get Devonta a couple picks after at 55. So if we do get that, we're feeling pretty good. So we might as well queue it up, keep it in the back of our mind. I mean, I explained in the stream yesterday why I think this is a high value stack. ADP is a little different in this Husky than it is in like BBM, which I think presents a pretty nice opportunity. This obviously all goes out the window if London's there. London's just a better pick. But in the event that he isn't, which I think is the likely outcome, fine to do this little weird stack. Of course, A.J. Brown could be there neither, which would change everything. But we do know we're getting one of them. The reason I like this Philly stack so much, which we admittedly won't have, is because Philly was 32nd last year in passing attempts. The reality is they are not going to be 32nd in passing attempts again this year. Whether it's due to, which is not something that I'm hoping for, short-term injury to Saquon just because of the workload, or what's the likely, reasonable, and most sensible outcome is that there's just gonna be regression. Like, it takes a very impressive, amazing, fantastic season to be able to run the ball the number of times that Philadelphia did last year. The reality is that extremely high volume of rushing attempts, both for Saquon individually and for Philly as a whole, is going to regress back to the mean, which should mean, even if it's slight, I mean, like, we don't need them to be throwing as much as Tampa Bay, just throwing as much as Buffalo would be great, who admittedly don't throw the ball that much either. But, like, that is enough to push both Hurts, A.J. Brown, and hopefully Devonta Smith back into a much more fantasy relevant position because we see some very positive regression to the mean in the passing department. And I think a lot of people just aren't thinking about that and aren't working towards a Philly double, which provides a lot of value, especially in a small contest like this. In BBM, might be tougher, especially with the different ADP values. But in this, I think it's very possible, very valuable, and given the entry max, I don't think it's something that people are going to target too heavy. I do like the LA offense just as a whole. So Devontae Adams will be fine here. Both of them are going to be, in my eyes, massive target hogs this season. They're gonna soak up a lot of Matthew Stafford's attention. So I'm all here for it. I think they're a super undervalued offense right now. Especially Stafford, too, is super undervalued because of people getting scared away by back soreness. We still have some time before the season starts. Obviously not something you want happening right now, but it's something that we can deal with. So LA double to start is more than good for us. We can unqueue Philly here because we're not going to be doing any of that. 9 picks away. I've talked at you enough. I'll give you a little bit of brief pause. We'll fast forward to the next pick while I collect my thoughts. Ultimately, I'm a risk taker. Hopefully, because of this pick, I'll be a moneymaker. But Rashee Rice is such a value in the 40s. We don't have clarity on the suspension yet, which means there's a high risk to him. Like all things in the entire known universe, with risk comes a higher ceiling in fantasy football. In money-making terms, higher risk is a higher reward. Rashee Rice is the reward that we want. With our 3 wide receiver start, I feel especially comfortable taking him. Would have been fine with DJ Moore going into like Ayuk later. We certainly would hope that we can maybe get very lucky and see Sutton there at 55. Very doubtful. Same thing, we're not going to see DK Metcalf. But Rashee Rice is just a very good wide receiver. If the suspension comes in lower than people expect, all the better. But I don't see him dropping even that far past 42 with like a 4-game suspension. I think the upside in any tourney format is just so high with Rashee Rice. I think the biggest thing in fantasy football is knowing that you don't know everything. I admittedly am not that big a fan of Hubbard. I personally think James Conner is much better. He's in a better offense. Even at Hubbard's peak workload, they're going to have the similar volume as each other. So I don't know why I would want the running back in what's likely to be a worse offense when they have equivalent volume. Granted, Conner does have some injury risk, but predicting injuries is like trying to predict the wind. That said, with Hubbard, I know I have a good chance to maybe get a mini with Cup later, which does provide some value. And I know that, hey, I just could be personally wrong on Chuba Hubbard. He may have a great season this year. I admittedly don't think that Hubbard is going to have a season that beats his 50 ADP, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. So don't be afraid to, at times, take players that you may not be enamored with, especially if you're drafting at the volume that I am. At some point, you're going to have to do it. Even a small share is worth it, and you have it in your own bones to determine it. At this next pick, I admittedly have a problem, which is anytime I take Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy, or both if I'm picking it like pick 12. Luckily, I wanted to do it, but you'd see me itching at my skin thinking I have to take RJ Harvey. I don't like the late Denver receivers. I don't like Evan Ingram that much at his ADP, so it has to be RJ Harvey. What I was going to say was, with just Rashee Rice, I can easily skip Harvey. And it's something that I don't do often because I get so zeroed in to game stacks that I admittedly just kind of drop the ball a little bit. I don't think about diversifying my Rashee or Worthy stacks because, same thing I explained with Worthy, Harvey is highly risky, which means he offers a ton of upside. We are going to go Caleb Johnson here. He's a running back I love. I really think that the Pittsburgh offense is undervalued this year. I think people don't understand how well Rodgers played towards the end of the season for the Jets. I don't think they understand that this offense is going to see a much improved efficiency with Rodgers at the helm. Hand up, I do have to make a disclaimer that I am a Steelers fan, so that may change your opinion on everything I'm about to say, but this offense is going to be more efficient. Is it going to be a weird offense? For sure. They have 4 tight ends that can start. But 4 tight ends means pretty damn good things for the running back in the offense. Especially with Arthur Smith's offense. He was able to turn Tyler Algier into a very fantasy-relevant running back before Bijan showed up. Caleb Johnson is extremely talented. And not only that, we're playing for upside here. By week 15, 16, 17, I have full confidence that Caleb Johnson will be the back in Pittsburgh, will be taking a large portion of the volume, and he also has the pass-catching chops to work into Warren's field there. Will he fully paint Warren out of the picture? No, that's not going to happen. But will he have potentially 80% of the running back work? I sure as shit think so. So I think Caleb Johnson presents a super high upside for running backs here. If we get Jerry Jeudy to stack up with him, even better. I talked about on stream yesterday how much I like Jerry Jeudy. I won't speak on him too much in this just because I expect we likely won't get that lucky. If we do, I'll speak on him. But the short of it, now that he's off the board, is that Cleveland throws the ball a damn lot. Yeah, they aren't going to have that great of quarterback play this year. Especially towards the end of the season, they may not. But Jerry Jeudy's wide receiver 1 in an offense that threw the ball the most in the NFL last year. And you can get him at pick 70? Hell yeah. I think we are just going to go Pacheco. Even if you don't love Pacheco, I do think you should realize the upside of him potentially being like a Montgomery this year. Like, the KC offense is going to be decent this year, even at its worst. In an offense that's going to move the ball quite well, there's going to be a running back that gets a decent amount of value. I personally think that Isaiah Pacheco will be that running back. Kareem Hunt is getting older, and while he played admirably last year, I think this is Isaiah Pacheco's backfield, and even in the worst case that he still takes a split, I think Pacheco is going to be the one that they put in near the goal line, and hopefully we see some TD positivity out of that. Joe Mixon is obviously, getting into this range, a great value pick. Could have went with him too, but I went with Pacheco just because it stacks up into the team. If we do happen to get Mahomes at 90, even better, we can go Mahomes and Stafford. I feel very comfortable about that quarterback room. Obviously, Kupp was someone I mentioned earlier to justify Hubbard, so if Mahomes isn't there, we can't go Kupp. At pick 90, though, I'm going to take Mixon. Yes, he's going to miss time. Will he be back? Yeah. By all reports currently, he will be back. So, if you're going to let me get Joe Mixon at 90, I'm gonna fucking do it, man. Sorry. Like, I don't know. I get people are scared. But what are we talking about here? With the current running back setup, doesn't matter if this motherfucker isn't back till week 4. Lead back in a decent offense. Sign me up. And now my running backs are stacked. Like, what are we doing here? I really sometimes question the thought process. Yes, I mean, I've talked at length in recent videos about Mason over Jones perplexing me. The reality is, Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones, whoever becomes the 1A versus 1B, are in a committee. When Joe Mixon is out there, you can be afraid of Nick Chubb, beginning of the season, Nick Chubb is not going to be at 100%. All you need is a little bit of like dissonance from Nick Chubb for Mixon to be the clear-cut one, which I expect him to be for the season. Obviously, you can be concerned that towards the end of the season, Chubb will be fully healthy, maybe provide a little bit of spelling for Mixon. But, like, I mean, at pick 90, who gives a shit? Like, Joe Mixon is a good running back in a good offense. Yes, is he going to miss some of preseason? More likely than not. Can he be ready week 1? Yeah. Will he be ready for week 1? I don't know. But I do know one thing. The upside of him being ready for week 1 and me getting him at pick 90 is higher than the risk of him missing 2 weeks. Especially with the pick ADP that you get him at currently. Rant over. Trey Harris is more than likely our next pick. We could go Justin Fields, because we do need to figure out our quarterback room at some point. But I'm going to go Trey Harris, simply because I do know this is part of the reason that I, in the sprint, have a lot of Kyle Pitts right now. Penix is a great value in most drafts. Knowing that, I usually tend to, even if I don't have London, I feel confident about taking Penix with like Ray McLeod and Kyle Pitts. So certainly something to consider. Stacks us further into our main game here, which will be LA, Atlanta. So ain't nothing wrong with that. I was gonna say it feels that is there at 114. I mean, that's a great play. I'm hard pressed to take Baker here simply because we have no Miami, we have no Tampa Bay, and we really aren't gonna get into any Tampa Bay. Like all of the really relevant Tampa Bay receivers are gone. I do love Jalen McMillan, but it ain't the play. All right, 114. I'm going to clear this off the queue for now just so that we don't auto-pick one of them far in advance. I mean, we could just go Kelsey. Not going to happen. Wouldn't have been the worst pick in the world by any means. This is quite an interesting pick here. I do think we'll go Njoku. Njoku, which was something I mentioned on the stream the other day, for the same reasons that I love Jerry Jeudy, this offense is going to throw the ball. The only issue, for Jerry Jeudy's sake, is that week 17, he's likely going to be covered by Jalen Ramsey. But that presents a huge opportunity for Njoku to hopefully get some more targets. The main thing I worry about with this Cleveland offense is that more likely than not, Joe Flacco probably won't be playing by 17. That's my massive worry, is that despite him being the best quarterback in their room, the team isn't going to be good, and I think the fan base might just pressure the organization, or not even the fan base, but the ownership, might pressure the coaching staff to put in a worse quarterback for a belief that, oh, we haven't seen them yet, they could be better, even though they won't be better than Joe Flacco. Just my opinion, but I do think it's a very real possibility. At what pick will we need to take our ATL fellas? I'll put them back up here, just so that we can be aware of it. 44 and 50. We can likely wait one pick. We'll reach on Penix, and then hopefully get Pitts at 51. We shall see, though. I'd love a wide receiver here. Hollywood Brown would be more than fine. We don't really need more running backs after how this draft has initially gone. So, not going to find me too hard pressed to take any of these running backs, even though Tajay Spears is fine. I do draft a fair bit of Javonte Williams, but it just doesn't really line up for us too well. And Hollywood Brown could be a wide receiver that sees some boost in the weeks that Rashee Rice is suspended, while still maintaining some fairly high week-to-week upside as a deep threat in the Kansas City offense into the later parts of the season when Rice is back. So, more than happy with that pick. Okay. Quarterbacks have went off the board, much to my chagrin. But it is what it is. I'm just going to take the running back value, and this will be our last running back. Javonte Williams is more likely than not the running back one in his room. I admittedly cannot start all these running backs every week, but it means that I can stop at running back 5 and probably take 3 quarterbacks along with Stafford. One or probably even 2 of those quarterbacks are probably going to be a little off kilter, but we're going to have to deal with it since this draft room has become fairly quarterback eccentric, quarterback enamored. More than happy to take 2. We know we need to save. I mean, we probably just have to go Stafford at 151 and then figure out the rest afterwards. I don't really think I have the luxury of passing on Stafford at this point, especially when the next pick isn't until 162. I know that only represents a 5 ADP drop, but people are weird about drafting quarterbacks that fall even a little bit, even when they already have 2 or like 3, like this guy. So that'll likely be the plan. I don't know why none of them are drafting running backs, genuinely. Does this guy have... Okay, no. He's a sane human being. But yeah, that's It's genuinely just where we're at. Missing on Penix doesn't mean like I'm gonna fully X out Pitts, but I think given where we are, given the luxury we have to take a bunch of late wide receivers, especially ones that I like, I'm just gonna go Stafford here. Make sure we get at least one quarterback that we play well into. Otherwise, this lineup would be pretty toast. We certainly can take Bryce Young. We have a little bit of exposure to Carolina with Chuba Hubbard. Didn't end up getting any Seattle, but we could just take Darnold for a small like quarterback. Hope it goes to tight ends that nobody has, and Hubbard has an okay game kind of angle. But yeah, that's currently where I'm at. Rodgers would be fine as well. I've talked at length on streams and videos about how I think this offense is going to be better than people expect. And I honestly could even just take Flacco on the off chance that he does maintain. In a small contest, just getting the advance rate isn't the worst decision, honestly. Because we don't need, like, if I have Stafford, if I have a Stafford double, I think I can hopefully survive 15, 16 and get some decent push in 17 just based on the back of Stafford alone. Question is, I mean, I do line up well to hopefully take these quarterbacks at their ADP with their next picks. Why is Najee Harris going that far? It's a question I don't have the answer to be quite honest. I don't think I want to go tight end. Let me get back to my team. If we do take Darnold, I really like Arroyo, so that would be my play there. If we take Rodgers, I mean, we have plenty of wide receivers we can work into. Honestly, I don't care much for at all. I mean, we could take Tillman. I'm likely just going to take these two quarterbacks and be fairly happy about it. So I'm going to take them 10 spots above ADP and guarantee that I have 3 quarterbacks that I trust. I don't have to worry about anyone else in this draft room getting ideas that they shouldn't. And most of the other wide receivers, in terms of team and game stacking that I want, are ones that I'm going to be able to get fairly later into the draft. We're talking about players like Elijah Arroyo. We're talking about players like Tutu Atwell. We're talking about players like Ray McLeod. All players that I think could easily fit into this range if people had different conceptions of their value. Just admittedly, I don't think Michael Wilson is going to vastly outperform Tutu Atwell this year. Michael Wilson doesn't get that many targets. Tutu Atwell has some upside to get those targets. I'm already clearly stacked into LA. Tutu Atwell is going to be the receiver in a highly better offense. A better offense than the Indianapolis Colts. Jack Beck is likely only going to be like a 65 target wide receiver as a rookie. He's not going to command 100 targets this year. Hate to be the bearer of bad news on that front. We can take Cedric Tillman here if we really want to boost into a Pitt-Cleveland matchup. Tillman admittedly is not someone I think has super high upside, but in this range, if he gets any sort of positive target share moves, he's damn good. Isaiah Likely is really tempting at the value that they're letting me potentially get him at. And after taking Darnold, I feel somewhat comfortable in potentially not getting Rodgers, even though I do think it's better if we do get him. We do end up in a position, I'm surprised how much Arroyo has bumped up in this. People are really buying into the hype that I myself have been buying into. But we do have the luxury, I think, of going Rodgers first, given that the most likely outcome is that Arroyo does not vastly outperform his ADP. I think he can perform it like better than expected, but that's, you got to think in possibilities, percentages of outcomes. There is a admittedly somewhat small percentage chance that Arroyo vastly outperforms, does very well in an offense that maybe throws the ball a little bit more than we expect. But I don't think you need to rack your brain hoping and praying on that. I do think the best decision here is to take Rodgers. With Darnold as our quarterback too, I think it's just really going to help our advance rate. And we stack further into a now Cleveland Pitt game that does represent a fair bit of 17 upside for us at this point. Gesicki's also a great player. I'm not going to have any stacking for him, but he's going to an offense that's going to throw the ball a lot. And an offense that's going to throw the ball a lot more than Seattle or Pittsburgh. So even without the stacking, Gesicki's a great, just fairly consistent tight end to have behind Njoku. Two offenses that'll throw the ball a lot. Admittedly, Cincinnati will score a lot more points. So more than happy to take Gesicki the next pick. This has been a quite strange draft in terms of people just not letting people slide. It's kind of nice to see because you get a lot of drafts where people can't handle an ADP drop. So I find it very, very interesting to see a draft like this. But I'm more than happy to take Gesicki. Should be at our final two picks. Likely, yeah, I don't think we need another running back. Like I am very confident in this running back room that I don't think we need a sixth. So we'll just play into a tight end and then another wide receiver. With Calvin Austin gone, I really don't think Roman Wilson is that fantastic. Gesicki now does go. We probably just go Arroyo. Well, I did say he's not going to probably outperform to an exponential degree any of the tight ends in this range. It just does give us another side to the Seattle-Carolina matchup that we don't admittedly have much of at this point. And after taking Darnold, we would like some sort of representation there. I think he's a fine tight end. Hopefully he does get a little bit, but buying into rookie tight ends is can sometimes be a fool's gambit, so I wouldn't do it too often. As we make this pick, I would like to divulge some information that can be hard for me to wrap my head around, admittedly. Ray McCloud is the pick here. For me, that can be something that I struggle with really getting behind at times. But the reality is, I took David Njoku at pick 114. Because of how often Cleveland throws the ball, David Njoku, even with bad quarterback play, will have a high target share week to week. That should give him some pretty consistent value week to week. While Elijah Arroyo is a much riskier proposition to have as a backup, the reality is that taking someone like Pat Freiermuth, while it does play into a Cleveland double, we took Rodgers, makes sense. If you believe like me that Freiermuth is still going to get a fair number of targets, even with the addition of another tight end in Jonnu Smith, it makes sense. But the higher upside is if the LA-Atlanta game becomes a complete shootout, and by some strange realm, whether it be Drake London being out, and all the teams that have a LA stack with London, none of them have McLeod. So while that game pops off, nobody gets exposure to McLeod having a 2 TD lucky ass game. Avoiding even that, in our the appeal to taking Freiermuth is that you think, oh, with 3 tight ends, I'm really set. Without McLeod, I still like my wide receivers. Our running back room's great. I have 3 quarterbacks. If I have 3 tight ends and Freiermuth also fits into the Cleveland matchup, I should be really set to advance. The reality is that Pat Freiermuth is likely not going to increase your season-long point output to like more than marginally, and I mean marginally, affect your advance rate. So if the decision is primarily motivated by like, oh, I feel more comfortable in terms of my advance rate by having 3 tight ends, it's not doing anything for you. While Freiermuth could certainly pop off in Week 17 and provide value for your team by hitting 2 TDs, that value kind of detracts from Caleb Johnson. That value, more likely than not, I mean, what's the odds of Njoku and Freiermuth both having 2 TDs, and then both of them getting into your lineup Week 17, likely detracts from Njoku, like just from an odds perspective. More likely than not, Ray McCloud offers a higher ceiling play in Week 17, especially when your team is stacked up into both Puka and Adams with Stafford and London. Like, that is the bigger game for us than Rodgers, Caleb Johnson, Cedric Tillman, David Njoku. It's also a game that's more likely than not going to have a higher expected total. So in my opinion, Freiermuth does not increase your advance rate. If he does, it's extremely marginal. So, given that Ray McCloud and Pat Freiermuth likely have equivalent effects on your advance rate, Ray McCloud offers the higher ceiling given how this team is currently set up. Admittedly, a long-winded explanation, but I hope that it provided some value for you. And of course, I hope this draft as a whole provided some value for you. Appreciate everyone who watches. I'll be back again tomorrow, likely on a stream. But till next time, have a good one. Draft well. Stay safe. Peace!